being outspoken. You have found a way to express it now to a larger audience. So
Yes.
until now, what we have spoken was about your early childhood and about your education. So I want to take you back from now onward about the career specifically. So once you did your postgraduate in your HR, right? What was the year, and after that, how did the career progress?
Oh, my postgraduate in HR was actually a very reactive thing because, I got into training and development very early on in my career. So I started, when I I started working part time. Then I moved into a full time job, and then I was very successful very early on, which is a pro, but also a big con because there are some people who build on their success, and there are some people who say, "Hey, I'm successful. Let me put my legs up and sit down and take it all in and take my time." I happen to be part of that club. Right? So I was okay. I'm successful. Yeah, I got promoted really quickly in my career, and but after 2 years of being in a production environment and operations, I said, I realized that I was spending a lot of time with people, and in a way, I was also, you know, I was also maybe in a way not very happy with the things that were going on in that environment. So I said, let me try training. I'm good at speaking to people. I'm good at talking to people, and I love educating people. So let me try that, and that worked out for me. So I was in training and development since. So I started off as an operations leader, I was in 2003, and in 2005, 2 years later, again a little bit disgruntled with the happenings around, and I you see, I still had this rebellious streak in me, right? So I said, chuck this, I'm going to get into training. Unfortunately, my rebellious streak then stopped and I got into training because that whetted my appetite of speaking to people. And I've been in training since 2005, early 2005. So it's been a good 17 odd years around 16, 17 years that I'm in training and development.
So how did you get into training? I mean, what did you have to do to become a trainer?
I just gave an interview and they liked me.
So your outspokenness, your that inside thing of educating people and telling them why are you learning what you're learning, because being a trainer, it is an important component.
Yeah. So what happened is, you see, the thing is, since we were children growing up, one of the things that my mother, instilled in us is the practice of reading, is the art of reading. So we'd be reading day in and day out. So communication skills were never a problem. So for trainers, what they typically look at is, do they have an aura about them? Are they able to connect with people? Are they able to communicate? Are they able to disseminate knowledge? Are they able to transfer the knowledge from practical to from theory to practical? Are they able to get people to start applying the knowledge while in class? And for me, all of this stuff came very naturally because of the fact that I used to read a lot, and I read, and I growing up, I read much more than I've read in the last couple of years. Uh, so I read books from a variety of authors, and my palette has been very very wide. So I don't have a genre or a set author or a kind of book. For one day I could be reading a book on religion, another day on spirituality, another day on Jack Ma, another day on geography, another day I'll be reading some historical book or a book on an encyclopedia or some economic paper. So I remember there was one year that I was just reading the Economic Times. I would read it from start to finish because it was so interesting. So I could read in multiple directions. Some technical papers also, and reading any kind of reading really interested me. Plus, I think, like I said, my mother instilled that art, so that thing was really strong within me. So when it came to so for me being a person in production and operations, when it came to delivering a mock training session, I could construct that very easily in my mind. I'm trying to because I knew that how I could assimilate information, and I knew that there are some best practices which I could help others share, pick up information and learn from me. And hence, way back as a very, very raw uh, trainer and haven't really had trained also. But I was able to crack that interview in 2005, and it's just it's just progressed since then. So I can very frankly say that at least the first 1 or 2 years, it was learning. But now what happens is when I step into a classroom or I get into a workshop and things like that, it's extremely natural, to be able to come up with different tools and techniques and be able to get the audience to listen in and have them take them on a journey with me. So for me now, each training opportunity is a journey. Each training, it's like I'm taking them from one destination to the other, and by the end of it, they've experienced a whole new side of themselves, and or they're seeing things in a different perspective, and that's how I do it now. Which is, of course, it took me a long time to be able to understand that I had the ability to do this, and of course all the learnings over the years. But yeah, but that's how my journey's been so far.
So it seems like you have enjoyed being a trainer. And in this journey, as you said, initially it was a lot of learning, and then afterwards it was more of expressing what you have learned or teaching that or educating them as you wanted, always you wanted to do. So when all those things were going on well, how did you decide to get into being a life coach or becoming a past life regression coach? How did that happen?
So a natural offshoot of training is coaching because training involves, speaking to large audiences, couple of hundred people, and coaching is a one-on-one thing. So what would happen is during this training journey, there would be many instances where leadership would approach me and say that we really love how you did this training, and we are seeing these changes in our leaders because I would do a very thorough job post the training as well. I do a lot of follow-ups, a lot of frameworks, and you again another funny thing. I ended up writing a lot of technical manuals for how protocol manuals and things like that. So over the years, I think my education has been more discovery based rather than saying I got. So even now, I say to myself, I am my own certification and qualification. So no matter what certifications and qualifications I've got, eh, what I've learned for myself by myself and what I've created and discovered, for myself, I think that's been my biggest certification. So, so what would happen is I'd and conduct this entire training package, which would enable people to uh, adapt to change, understand change, discover their strengths, and all of those bits. And leadership then would reach out to me and say, "Would you also be able to extend this, to our in-house leaders and maybe kind of coach them?" And again, as like the training journey, my coaching journey was started off with more of mentoring and kind of a mix of mentoring and coaching. And then when so I heard of the ICF only in the year 2014, and I thought, oh, that's a good, it sounds nice, International Coaching Federation. That's a very fancy name. I didn't know that there was this thing that was there, uh, and now I know that people have known this since the longest. And uh, I was like, where was I? So this is another trait of mine which I probably wouldn't want to share, but since this is an open and genuine conversation, I'll tell you. I'm always in my own universe in my mind, and a lot of the times, and this is a tip for people who are young and listening, and especially people who are have built castles in the air, which I used to do quite a bit, and are always lost in those castles. So I'm either one room in the castle or another room, or I'm looking out of the garden in that castle, but it's all in the air, right? It's all in my mind. So what happens is this stymies you from trying to achieve what you want to do in life. So and also the fact is that you're not looking at the world because you're only looking at the world that you've created within your head. So a lot of people who are daydreamers, a lot of people who are procrastinators, a lot of people who are who believe in luck's going to carry me through my whole life. I've been there, done that. I can tell you it doesn't work. So you've got to be able to take off the blinkers and look at the world around you. And so I discovered coaching very late 2014, and I found the name fancy, but it was only in around. And I did a lot of coaching sessions in my career as a trainer. I would have done so. If you go to my website, I've just put a very conservative number of 100 plus coaches, but in reality, I think every year I would have coached around 25 odd people. So if you look at it, I would have easily, and some years I remember coaching much more than that. So, so I would have easily gone to at least 200 odd people who I've coached at the organization level. So I said, I'm doing so much of it. And then a friend of mine said, hey, listen, you know what? Australia was opened up this new visa regulation that if you want to be a coach, if you want to get into Australia, and I had no intention of getting to Australia, but it sounded very glamorous, like the way he positioned it to me. If you want to get into Australia, you can be a life coach in India. I said, really? I didn't know that, coaching had taken on this really important mantle. Then I thought that maybe getting a coaching certification is important. And so I actually then started investigating and trying to understand, and then I realized that this whole world of coaching, and it wasn't just about Australia. It was the certification, what it meant, and all of that. So in 2018 is when I started off on my official coaching journey, and this after having coached, like I said, nearly over 200 people. It really helped me because it was very easy then for me. Because when I entered into, because what happened is all these organizations that I had worked for, they would have, they had in fact over a period of time invested in getting these trainers and coaches, these international level folks, or these training programs. And I was exposed to quite a lot of stuff before I got into coaching. So my style got naturally attuned to the discovery style of asking questions, deep questioning, deep probing. So when I started coaching, I found it really easy, and I still remember, my trainer coach from, again, I did coaching from Symbiosis in the Symbiosis Coaching Institute, and I remember the coach telling me, "You're really already doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're naturally good at this." And I was like, the ace up my sleeve is the fact that I've been doing this for so long. It's just that now I'm kind of getting officially certified, because that
Exactly.
certification is something that gives you an entry point into saying that you're a coach. So
Yeah.
that was primarily the reason that I did it. But I'm quite enjoying this journey now because I'm mingling with coaches from different parts of the world. Just about, I think a month ago, I did this training session for senior coaches from, places like Italy and Turkey and from Europe and Israel and all these places. So, and to learn and share from them and, bounce off ideas. And I like to create and invent new tools. So I created a tool and I wanted to share it with them. And so to be able to do all of that stuff, I think is very interesting. Apart
Awesome.
from the regular coaching the coaching that you do with coaches and clients. So yeah.
And don't feel bad that you discovered it later. I discovered it much later than you. I discovered it in 2019. And when I did it, I realized like, oh my God, where was it earlier? Why no one has ever told me? Matlab, that side of education is not there. At least in India, it is not that privileged.
Exactly. Just think about it. If we knew about these options growing up,
Yes.
if we knew about these options at least at the college level, and this was, these options were available to us, that you could be a coach, or you could be a mentor. These softer skills options. I mean, just imagine it would have made a big
A
difference
very
to us.
different life, yes, true. In fact, the career, right? We are taking those natural career path what are available. At least in India, doctor, engineer, and these days, obviously, there are tons of things opening up. Still, I mean, I feel for life coaches, that exposure is not yet there. Many people,
No.
even if I say I'm a certified life coach, and they're like, "वो क्या होता है? वो क्या करते हैं? Are you a therapist? Are you a counselor?" You know,
Yeah,
lots of
and
questions.
the common and you're so right, Dr. Meenu, because the common thing is they expect you to mentor and they expect you to prescribe. I remember a client of mine very recently, and she said, "Oh, when you started the coaching, I thought you would come in and give me these golden nuggets of advice that would completely transform my life because you're a life coach." I didn't know that I had to find the answers on my own, and you would help me do that. But that's another thing, that's a more enriching journey than what I thought it was. But this is what I thought it was. So this is the common misconception. about what coaching is. And I'm happy that people now their eyes are opening up towards the fact that it's not mentoring. But I must tell you, there are coaches in India that I've observed who unfortunately have to get into the prescriptive mode because of the fact that when people come into these conversations, they come thinking that they're going to be prescribed a solution. And some of the coaches that that I've mentored, for example, um, they don't do a very good job at orienting the coaching towards the fact that it's going to be deep questioning, it's going to be discovery and rediscovery, it's going to be co-creation. They go with the flow because and I'll tell you what, it is easier to be able to give a bhashan, and say this is what's going wrong and this is what's going right. And we as Indians, because we believe in this, authoritarian structure, or we look up to people who've done something in life, who we call our senior to us. We end up taking their advice, and they go back thinking, "Oh, I had a great coaching session," but teacher man to fish is not really there. And sometimes I've ended up mentoring these coaches and telling them that, hey, listen, you really want to get good at your craft and you want to be able to, enable that discussion for the coaching. So get into more stronger questions. So life coaching is evolving in India. People are accepting it more now, understanding it more now, and I think that's the best part about it.
Yeah, and I'm happy for that. That at least, even though it was in 2019 when I discovered, okay, I did discover it. I'm very happy with that. And as you said that when you got into coaching, even your trainer said that you are naturally good at it. The same thing I felt when I read about who is a life coach and what he or she does. I'm like, ये सब तो मैं already करती हूँ, बस मुझे certification चाहिए.
And I think especially in your profession, when you
Yes,
consult, you're doing so much of that already. I mean,
yes,
I remember you telling me that you do it at the scientific level for pharma. So the fact is, because you're doing consultation, it's just naturally a part of your trade. So
yes,
people like you and me really got lucky when it came to coaching. So
definitely,
ingrained into
definitely.
our profession.
Yes, it's like that was one thing which we didn't know exist as a profession. At least I didn't know. And when I got to know, I'm like, अरे यही तो चाहिए था मुझे.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if daydreaming was a profession, I would be like world number one. They need to make that as a profession.
Okay, but it is enriching to know that you are helping so many people and you are actually telling them how it works and you are actually empowering many of the other coaches as well or trainers. So that's really amazing to see. So that was a part of training and coaching. Now I want to touch upon the past life regression coach. How did that happen? And first of all, maybe if you can let our audience know what is it? Why was it so intriguing for you so that you got certified in that or you started practicing that, I would say.
So this rebellious streak in me was also a very questioning streak. So I remember as a child, I would question everything, everything, everything. My mother was tired of answering my questions. Why is this way? Why is the world round? Why does this happen? Or sometimes, my sister had these dolls with a nice little, and for some reason now that I'm thinking, very non-inclusive dolls because they're all blonde with blue eyes, and that's the visual I remember, right? I remember, and there are these sounds that would come from them. I'm like, where the hell is that sound coming from? Why is this doll saying this and why is the other doll saying that? And I would rip open the doll's tummy to take out the batteries and look at it and wonder if there is something. And I just, and my sister, what the hell are you doing? And I would do that for so many things. I would just ask a lot of questions all the time. And even now, I'm always questioning. And so the existence of life has always been a big question in my mind. Why are we here? What are we here to do? Why is Dr. Meenu, Dr. Meenu? Why does she have long hair and why is she a woman? And why am I a man? And why is it that some people are born into abject poverty and some of us have it much better than the rest? Why is it that I have the ability to, have the function of all my organs and then some people don't? And the more and more I thought about it, it didn't seem like luck would be such biased parent, or destiny would be, such a, or even evolution would be so cruel. It didn't sound, it didn't make sense. Again, that logical side of me said, this doesn't make sense. You can't come to this planet and be born over here and say, oh, I was born into a house for king, and so I'm lucky. It doesn't make sense at all. So, and also the fact that there's a lot of there were a lot of paranormal occurrences happening, and things like that in the world. So I said, how does this all come together? So I researched into it, spent a lot of time, and what I realized is that this is not this is not by chance that we are like this. What I realized is that this is by choice. So I choose to come here as a and a lot of discovery, research, and things like that. Let me ask you a question, for example. So, Dr. Meenu, were you born? When were you born? Were you born without, say, revealing the year in which you were born? Were you born today morning?
Maybe some part of me, yes.
Yesterday morning, some part of you was born, and so that's like a few percent, and the rest of you was born some years ago. So if we had to study, and that's a very good answer. So if we had to study who Dr. Meenu is, if we had to understand her as a person completely, what would we study? Would we study her from the few minutes that she was born this morning, or would we study her from the life that she's lived all of these years?
All of these.
All of these years, right? So so then the fact is that if you go back to your childhood, you can pick up stuff from there, like we discussed my childhood, and how it's impacting me as an adult. Now, if you go, and what's the furthest back you can go? The furthest back you can go is to your mother's womb. That's where you were born, right?
Right.
So are you saying that in your mother's womb, if you had to study your, that's so sorry. So that's the furthest that a person can go to understanding in this lifetime how, what are the factors that influenced you to become the person that you were today?
True.
So my question was, but again, this doesn't cut because of the fact that all of us are born to mothers, and all of our mothers, not it's not. Why is it that some children are born rich, some are born poor, some are born with some abilities? Why is it that some people can paint, some cannot? So all of these things didn't really make sense to me. And then when I started investigating, like I told you, I realized that we are spirits, we are souls, and we come into bodies, and we choose to come into these bodies, and we make that choice. And we make the choice and say that I'm going to be born as Dr. Meenu, or as Meenu, and I'm going to be born to these parents, in this religion, in this country, under these economic conditions, and I'm going to look like this. And so the person that you are today is exactly perfect for whom you're supposed to be in this lifetime, basis whatever has happened in your previous lifetime. So just as you would go to childhood to understand who Dr. Meenu is today, your soul has lived through multiple lifetimes, and it's important for you to go through those lifetimes to understand who this person is today. It's not just about one life, it's about multiple lives. And so when they say past life regression therapy, it's not about looking into your past lives, but it's about understanding your present life. Similarly, how you ask me questions to go back into my childhood to understand the person that's molded in today. Similarly, for you to be able to understand how you are as a person, you've got to go back to your past lives to figure out, hey, what could I have done differently, or why is this thing impacting me? That I'm being that is impacting my present life today. And many of the answers don't come from this life. Many of the answers come back from previous lives, because the fundamental theory is very simple. You see, the earth revolves around the sun, the moon revolves around the earth. So life is a pattern of repetition. And a lot of times what you've done in previous lives, you do it in the next life and the next life and the next life until you break that pattern. And that's what they call karma. It's about learning. So, if a person, for example, had a certain kind of issue, maybe with, maybe had trust issues with money, for example, in one life, they repeat the same challenges in the next one and the next one and the next one until they, in a life where they are able to break those trust issues. And then that that pattern, is wiped off, and they're able to balance that, and they become more balanced as individuals. And in the next life that they live, they don't see that pattern emerging again. So when you break this pattern, you have to keep breaking these patterns that keep happening. And anyways, long story short, I realized that when we come into this life, it's by choice because of the fact that we are here to break those patterns that we've been developing over the years, and we are here to learn from all the challenges and all the choices and all the experiences that we had in our previous lives, and we are here to learn from it. And here's the fun part: people don't even know this. You know, Ancient Indians knew it, and they knew it really well. Today, we have a more westernized system of education. Today, when you look at movies and we look at culture, we talk about, King Arthur, for example, and there's so many dynasties and nations in India, and there's so much of history that's, you don't even learn in schools about India, for example, right? So our ancient Indians knew this. So this is not something new, or this is not something which is out of the blue. We lived this life. I mean, people knew that they've come here from mother life. In fact, there are still Native American tribes who celebrate the fact that we are going back home, and this is just a temporary, transient, material world that we're living in. So imagine, Dr. Meenu, you are a soul who has lived multiple lives. And when you tell this to somebody, it sounds alien. But the fact of the matter is, that's what you are. And you came here and you made a choice. And the important part in past life regression therapy is to understand, why did you make this choice to come here as Dr. Meenu? And what's impacting you in your current day-to-day life? And for me, the logic was then that goes back to the root of the issue. So now I'm going to close loop it and say that, there are some issues that you realize, that there's some things that happen to you in your life, and you're wondering, why is this thing happening to me? The maximum a psychiatrist or psychologist or doctor can go back and say, let's go back to your mother's womb. Maybe there's something happened from there or in childhood. But what about somebody like me who's had a relatively, and we were talking earlier, right? Relatively easy childhood, no traumas, no challenges, none of that much. But there's some things that have happened. So many things that have happened. Like for example, the fear of water growing up. I had no idea that I had this hydrophobia, and it didn't stem from this life at all. My parents never scared me. I never had an incident about it. That was a natural, very, very visible fear. But there's so many other things. And how do some children come into this life very early on, sometimes even knowing things? So many of these questions were there, and the fact that our current science could only take us back to childhood and not beyond that. So this got me into researching, and this got me into understanding, and there's so much of literature out there. And then this got me into understanding that, hey, listen, this is not some twist of fate that we are here. There's a very, structured way. We are here because of choice. We come from a different world, and we are here as souls experiencing this, going through this human experience, and we are here to break the patterns and chains of this experience, and we are here to be able to become really truly, the very cliche but right, the best version of ourselves. That's what spirituality is about: to become truly the best version of yourselves and just be on this planet. And so all of this stuff made sense. The most abstract things, the most vague things, for a very logical person like me, it made absolute sense. Because uh, you and I could have been born as circles with two dots, and you're wearing yellow. So imagine the yellow smiley balls. We could have all been little yellow, exactly same configuration smiley balls, but we were not born that way. We were born with our own unique personalities, our own unique, challenges, our own unique perspectives, our own unique circumstances, and all of this is not by chance. It is by choice. And the fact that we have to understand, the fact that when people understand that it is by choice, it's very empowering. When people come out of a regression therapy session, and they see that it's very empowering, that I know now, like this trust issues with money, I told you, this is a very real situation, where one of my clients woke up and she said, you know what, I know now why I have trust issues with money, because she saw an incident in one of her previous lives where she had those same issues, and she'd been carrying on over different lifetimes the same thing, and for some reason she never realized it. And it was in this life that when we did the session and she understood, and now she's adapting to those changes, making those changes in her life. So there's healing, there's learning, and the basic fundamental, I think, for any human being, Dr. Meenu, is to be able to question and and not just live a life that is so matchboxed, which is go to school, go to college, check, check, go to earn money, check, buy a car, check, have kids, grandkids, check, get your pension fund, check, pass away one day, check. That's what we've been led to believe. But so it's important to be able to question and understand your own journey. And through this understanding of your own journey and why you are here, I think that helps you solve a lot of problems. That helps you understand yourself even better. Forget about problems. That helps you discover why you are here, your purpose of life, which a lot of people are looking for. And like I said, I go in all directions. So I'm going to now go back to that original question. Finding out the purpose of life, not just my life, but the purpose of everybody's life and why we are here on this planet. That was the reason why I decided to. And this happened in 2017 because, I've been doing this forever. And one day I said, that's it, I've got to figure out more. And then in 2019, there's this gentleman called Dr. Brian Weiss, and he's the foremost authority on past life regression therapy. So he has a workshop he conducts in New York. It's a certification residential program. So I went there and it was a real experience. I loved the entire experience. So got my certificate from there. And from then on, I've been a practicing past life regression therapist.
Wow, that is, I got goosebumps when you were saying those things. That was really, really intriguing. I know there is, I would love to talk more about it, but I'm mindful of time. So, just for the sake of audience curiosity, because even I felt curious about it. So, out of your own curiosity, out of your own questioning mind, and those things, you wanted to figure out what is all this about and why are we here, why things are like this, and so on. And I'm sure when you met the trainer, you might have gotten a lot of things, and you went ahead, got certified, and practicing as well. Being an audience or being a listener, if I would want to know how would it help me, because people say कि अब जो हो गया मतलब I can't do anything about it. So how does a therapist help to anyone? Like if anybody would like to come to you and imagine, I'm sure everyone would have some or the other thing which they want to fix in their life. So how does a past life regression therapist help? If you can share a bit.
Let me give you an example. Uh, Say, for example, a person's an alcoholic, right? And he says, oh, I had a glass of wine yesterday. Ho gaya, ho gaya. Now, today I'll have another glass of wine. Say, for example, a person is, living with insecurities. So they go back and they say, yeah, yesterday I was living with insecurities, but that's yesterday, that's the past. So forget about it. Let me live with insecurities today. Say, for example, a person is living with certain fears or certain emotional hindrances. Maybe they are not getting along with their loved ones. Maybe they are finding that the same things keep happening to them over and over again. So as human beings, we know that if there is something that can get better in our lives, uh, and we've been experiencing that quite a bit, we want to change that. We want to change that. And many a times when we try to change that, we fail at it or we're not able to do it completely. Because many a times it's, so we try to say, let's live in the present. But what happened to me yesterday, what happened to me the day before, what happened to me in my childhood, I still go back to that and I refer back to that. And, I say that this has been building up over the years. Oh, my parents didn't support me. Oh, my family didn't support me. Oh, I didn't get support. So we are always, every day without fear. I mean, just think about it. Every day of our lives, while we are trying to live in the present, our present is because of our past. I am here today because of yesterday. I'm here today. I am able to speak to you today because of the fact that I did my coaching. So we met Dr. Meenu, for example, on a coaching forum. Because of the fact that we met in a coaching forum. So my whole every next day of my life is determined by what has happened and what I've done over these years of my life. Right? If growing up, if I had been absolutely rebellious and I had taken to say drugs or alcohol and I ended up, being a druggie on the street, you wouldn't be talking to me today. right? So you're talking to me today because of the fact that I had some semblance to say, okay, fine, let me control this rebellious streak and let me try and pursue a corporate career, and let me, and along the way, help me introspect. I introspected and discovered, and self-reflected, and I worked this life through. But there are so many challenges that I face in my life, emotional, mental, physical challenges as well. And all of this is because of the fact that, I mean, today, if something goes wrong, touch wood, to anybody on this planet, tomorrow they'll say, oh, this is how this person spoke to me. As if we are always referring to and looking at all our experiences in life. And that construct is the construct of our life today. Similarly, you've got to understand that this is not the first time and your soul has experienced this. Your soul has, so imagine that you're looking at your life from the window of these years that you were on this planet. But the fact is, take a step back, and your soul has experienced this from hundreds of lives before. And all of these issues that you're facing now, all the things that you're doing now, and people might say, I find it so difficult to change this. Or this, when I try to make these changes, something else happens and things never change. These are patterns that we've repeated over multiple lifetimes. And there is a healing and there is a learning that one needs to understand. So if I were to change me being an alcoholic, for example, you know, I will try to change some habits, behaviors, stop having alcohol, teach other people what the negative effects of alcohol are. And when I'm able to see that, then I will be able to relieve myself of the bottle. So they say, right, the last stage in helping an alcoholic, move out of alcoholism, for example, is, when he teaches other people, for example. So, I have to go through the entire process. But I can't say that today is a brand new day and forget what about the past. The past is our present and the past is our future. If 20 years ago I had decided, I'll give you an example. Um, uh, 20 years ago, I took my first gym membership, right? And if I had continued that, and if I'd continued going to the gym every single day, I'd be in different physical shape today, absolutely different. And I've taken around 5 gym memberships, and there's some times when I've really followed it and I've been in shape. And now, for example, pandemic was a perfectly good excuse not to go to the gym, right? So, so the last 2 or 3 years, my health has gone for a toss, for example. But there is a pattern that's going on over here, and I've got to figure out this pattern. And sometimes, breaking this pattern in this life, this pattern may be more strongly etched. So there are two patterns that come through. One is a pattern that we're living out from our previous experiences. So, for example, in Dr. Meenu, you are, say, for example, you have an experience today, and on the basis of that experience, you make a choice, and you make that same choice going forward for the next 20 years. Whenever you face a similar kind of experience, that's a new pattern that you create in this life. And there are already a ton of patterns that you're existing within you in the way you breathe, in the way you operate, in the way you think. And these don't just come from this life, but they come from multiple lifetimes, because you are not just Dr. Meenu. There is a soul within you. There's a software within you that's controlling that hardware. And the software is not from this hardware only. The software has been installed in multiple hardwares. And when that hardware was no longer existing, the software got installed in the next one and in the next one. And the software is a learning and a growing software. It is intelligence and it's not artificial, right? So that software is learning and growing. And to be able to understand the evolution of that software, to be able to make that software more efficient and effective, that's where the therapy comes into play. So instead of looking at what happened to you just in this lifetime, you're going to the root cause of the issue and you're fixing yourself at the soul level, which is even more stronger than fixing yourself with just say, the level of this lifetime and the person that you are today. So that's here's how it works. When a person is really truly ready to make change in their lives, that's when a lot of people who come for regression therapy come in with the knowledge saying that I want to make a change in my life, and I know there's more to it than you know what I've been trying regularly. So what can we do? And it's when you're ready for it is when people come for it. I never urge people to come to regression therapy, only when they feel that I need to undergo something like this. And when they are seeking healing, when they are seeking learning, if they're seeking quick fixes, if they're seeking behavioral changes, immediately short term, then this is not for them. But if they're seeking long term healing, if they're seeking learning, if they're seeking, what some of us call siddhi or moksha, or the ability to go towards that, at least in some one life, then this is really helpful, because this goes deep, deep, deep within, and this helps you unearth challenges and issues which you are blinded to in many cases, because you're wondering, why is this happening to me when I've not done anything of this sort in my life, or why are people treating me like this, or why am I reacting in a certain way, why am I thinking in a certain way, and it's so strong and I can't get rid of it, and how do I do that? So many instances we've seen of people who've been through regression and they come out of it and they understand where the root cause of the issue is, and now they're willing to make the change. And when they're willing to make the change, there's healing that's happening, there's learning that's happening. So it's like a little, imagine that your soul is a little seed that is planted into this earth, and not just today and yesterday and in this lifetime, but many, many lifetimes ago. And as it's growing, all you've got to do is you've got to water it, you've got to nurture it. But we forget, that this was once a seed. We look at it today and say, maybe today that seed is a tree, and we're looking at a tree and we're taking it for what it is today. But it has been through a journey. And the manure was important, the climate that it faced was important, the amount of wind and air that it got was important, how many times it was watered was important, and that determines the strength of the tree. So to be able to go back, to be able to work through all of that is extremely important for a soul, and for a human being to be able to live their lives in a way that they would desire. And those changes, the best part is that those changes are evident physically and they're evident emotionally as well. So it's quite an interesting experience, because we've been trained as human beings not to look at ourselves as spiritual beings. We've been trained to look at ourselves as flesh and blood, but flesh and blood and come from this planet, from Earth. We are made of, the hardware is made from this planet. The software is not made from this planet. Because if the software was made from this planet, then that software would not be, not be transferable into different lifetimes.
It is
And
not
you wouldn't have,
intelligent enough to be
yeah,
transitioning. Yeah.
yeah, and you wouldn't have things like, and people call it ghosts and stuff, but there's no such thing as ghosts. I mean, media has just brainwashed us, man. Media has just made up stories, and people over the years who even knew this information, which is very apparent, have kind of just done away with it for whatsoever reason. So yeah, so healing is the main result. Change is the main result. Learning is the main result, and it's not to do with anybody else, but it's to do with yourself and your own journey in life. And
Mhm.
so that's why regression therapy is very crucial. And for me, more than any, I did study psychology or psychiatry. I do know some of those concepts, of course, but for me, this was going to the root of the issue. So for me, this was about understanding, going down to the root, and why is it, like I said, the original question, why is Dr. Meenu, and why am I this way? So for me, that was the original question. And then I realized along the way that, this is a healing and this is a learning journey. And, this is not a one-time thing. This is something that you've got to be mindful of on a daily basis.
Yeah, I was about to that question. So, like how life coaching or life coach is a alien concept, at least for many, the same way as this past life regression therapist. I mean, what is it? And as you have beautifully explained what it is and how does it work and so on, I'm sure now audience are more aware of it. So, as I understand that it's a very long journey which we try to understand and find what went wrong at what stage, and then probably getting the awareness, getting the learning, and then probably healing, and as you said, changing yourself. And it's a day to day then mindfulness of
Yes.
changing that thing or making that shift. So generally, like imagine if, okay, I'm so intrigued with the conversation, and maybe I do feel that I have some issue which I want to maybe consult, or maybe I would feel that I'm ready to get into this. How many sessions does it take generally for one
So
to
yes,
get the
yeah,
change?
sure. So here's the best part. Your soul is part of the divine consciousness. Your soul is part of the divine collective. So we are all, imagine that we are all water droplets in the same ocean. And your soul is one of those little drops of water, which means it is part of the divine consciousness. It is part of the divine intelligence, so to speak. I think now instead of artificial intelligence, I'll patent this term, right? DI, divine intelligence. So So your soul knows what to show you when you are in a regression session. You might get into the session thinking that here are my challenges,
Mhm.
and when you start experiencing the memories of your previous life, it's not like a DVD which is playing and showing you a historical expedition or geographical expedition.
Mhm.
Your soul, for example, say you go back to a life, say a couple of 100 years ago, for example. You go back to a life, it's not going to show you from your childhood what happened right up till the day you passed away. It will show you only those nuggets, only those flashes that are important for you in your day-to-day life. So, for example, if you're going through a certain issue and it's pressing on your mind, your soul will may or may not show you that exact issue, but it will show you something which maybe is the root cause of that issue, which maybe impacts the issue in a very different way, but you're not able to see it now. And it may also show you exactly what you're going through and where it started. So your soul is very intelligent. It can see ahead of time and it understands, and it will show you exactly what you need to know. And many a times what happens is, Dr. Meenu, we are sometimes overtly logical in our thought. And uh, we are not intuitively intelligent sometimes to be able to say that, okay, this is what my soul showed me, so I need to start practicing this immediately. But just do what your soul tells you. Because when we come to this planet, we are not left without guidance. I mean, you've got a divine soul within you, which is there to guide you. And this soul will show you exactly what you need to know in right now, what is relevant to you. I mean, you imagine, say you've led multiple lives. It's not going to take you back into all of those lives and show you, in 1800 and so you were like this, or 2000 years ago you were like this, and this is how you looked, and this is a fancy dress competition. It's not that way. It's going to go back exactly in time to a particular life where the issue that you're facing in today's life really truly started, or maybe where the issue that you're facing in today's life really accelerated in a particular lifetime, and that's where the impact on your soul, on the software, started. So for you to be able to say, okay, this is how it started, this is how I got impacted, this is how I reacted, and now I know that I need to be able to work with this issue, and this is what I'm going to do next. So that realization comes in very strongly, and the soul will show you exactly what you need to know. And here's the best part. Here's another, thing that a lot of people may or may not know. Now, for example, Dr. Meenu, tell me, whenever, sometimes you might have faced incidents when, somebody was unwell in your family, or somebody you were about to call, or somebody was about to speak to you, and you kind of had this vibe or this feeling that, somebody is about to come to your house, and maybe I should call that person. And you had this intuition, and they call it extrasensory perception in today's life. Yeah. But each one of us, along with our own divine soul, have got these little guardian souls, and in the spirituality domain, they call them spirit guides. I don't know what the divine word is. Even there is a term for it. But what happens is,
Guardian angels.
yeah, guardian, angels is what. So these are all these terms that people are using and labels that
Yeah.
people have made. And I, for one, try to stay away from labels. So I'll just say that these are these, presences that are there within you that help you and guide you to make the right decision in life. So, like I was saying earlier, you've come to this life very well protected, very well guarded and guided. But what happens is we end up focusing so much on the external, on the material, and on the sensory part of life that we kind of cloak that connection that we have within, and hence those voices don't come through strongly. But people who are very present, people who are reflective, people who are spending time in nature, people who are who understand that it's important to introspect, they are able to connect closely with their extrasensory perception, which is nothing but these guides who are pressing on messages, whether through emotion or sometimes even through voice. You hear a voice in your mind says, Meenu, don't do this, or okay, or you have a feeling that this is the right way to go. So the logical choice, you have maybe two choices in front of you, and sometimes the intuitive voice says this looks correct, but the emotion in you says I should go with the choice which is not so logical, and that ends up being the right choice many a times. So these are your guides that are there within you. So the best part is during the space of a regression therapy, you not only work with your divine consciousness, but many a times these guides come through, and the best part is you can ask them questions and they give you responses. Again, these are not handwritten long explanations. These are responses that are curated for you, and they could be through words, or they could be through emotions, or could be through visuals as well. And uh, when you go through this experience, the best part is at the end of it, you come up with answers, you come out with answers, and those answers are more relevant to what you maybe sometimes went in with and saying, this was my problem. But when you come out of it, the answers are much more relevant that you get. And when now the important part is, like how we say in coaching, right? It's the awareness and the clarity. So you get the awareness, you get the clarity, but the choice is the most important part. So after you, so the regression is not the most important part. The most important part is what you do afterwards, and that's where coaching comes into play. So imagine, you've been through a regression session, and then you get into coaching after that because you know that this is something you have to work through. Or if you don't go through coaching, you decide for yourself, I need to go through this. But to be able to take that action and break that karmic pattern is extremely important for you to be able to progress in life as an individual. And people can live their whole lives not knowing any of this. And what happens is this: they live life after life after life, just going, sometimes understanding it, but choosing to disregard it because you're so focused on, I need to earn X amount of money, I need to buy this car, I need my children's education, I need survival, I need this, I need that, I need the other. And for all of these things, also, the answers are from within. Your guides can guide you and help you navigate through the situation. Again, whenever you come to this planet, you're never alone. You're never born alone. You choose to come to this planet in a certain, in a certain environment, in a certain body, with certain characteristics, and you choose to come with that. Plus, you come with your guides, so you're never really truly alone. And if people are feeling, desperate, and what kind of life is this? Why am I living this life? There is always a purpose. There's always a reason why you came here. You came here absolutely perfect for you to break your individual pattern. And you came here with guides as well. And you came here with the divine conscious as well. And all you need to do is tap into that, and they will be able to guide you through different situations. I mean, there have been instances, in my life where I had to make important decisions, and my guides, and I could connect with them, and they were able to come through and tell me. Sometimes I remember there was a certain incident. I wish I could say it out loud, but I'll tell you, when I could hear the voice of my guide loudly in my and it was this booming voice, and I was like, okay, I shouldn't do this. But that's a very rare occurrence for me, actually. Most of the times it's through intuition and feeling, and again speaks about the fact that I'm human, and I'm also focused on the material elements. So I'm just a part. We are all in this together. We are all experiencing. We are all living in this materialistic world. We are all kind of cut off from nature. Uh, Nature is, by the way, just to add this little bit over here. Nature. See, we are born. We are made from this earth, which means our bodies naturally resonate with the frequency of this earth. So when we are in nature, we are most balanced. Whenever you go to say a farmhouse, or you go to a place in nature and you come back feeling completely refreshed. Why is that? Because of the fact that your body is made up of nature, and the energy of your body and the energy of nature, resonates together at the same vibration. So the idea is, Dr. Meenu, we were never really meant to construct all of the stuff that we constructed. We were here to come on vacation. So this earth was as green as it was. When we came here, this was our vacation home, and we've turned our vacation home into a shopping mall, basically. so, into a shopping mall, into a building construction project, and uh, and hence when you go back into nature, and this can be any kinds of nature. You'd be surprised, Dr. Minu, that even in the desert. So I remember being in the desert and having all of these troubles lifted off me, and I was like, wow, even here, even in this place, which is so deserted, nature plays its part. So it can be anywhere. It can be in. You don't need to go through to some Himalayan mountains and sit with some monks. You could go to a beachfront. You could go into a local garden. If you're lucky enough and you have a reserve near you, you have lovely gardens nearby to do that. Or even there's a little bit of soil nearby your place, so there's a beachfront over there. You could remove your footwear and walk on soil for a good 15-20 minutes every day and reconnect with nature. So these are some of the practices that you can do to connect back with nature, because we are here, we are part of nature. We all of this stuff that we are wearing, this is all our own creation. We never really needed all of this. So it's important to remain and be a part of nature as much as possible, and that helps you to stymie all these voices, to stifle all these external voices, and go more deeper within. Why do you think most of our ancient Indian sages would go into the jungle, on forests and meditate, or under trees? And why wouldn't they not sit in front of the television set and meditate? I mean, those days they had television, but maybe, in front of, on a road open in front of everybody. Even in those days, they realized that with that little amount of activity happening around them, they still needed to a break and needed to get away for them to go within. So think about it today, with the amount of buzz that happens, the amount of chatter that happens around us, with the amount of radio waves and signals and social media, we are so completely disconnected from the within. So in order for us to go within and hear those voices, it's important to spend time in nature, and answers do come in nature because it is a very relaxing experience.
I have so many questions to ask in between what all you said, and I was just holding myself. But just on this nature part, I had been to Goa, I think maybe some 4 or 5 times by now.
Yeah.
Somehow I felt all the Goans are so chilled out. Is it because they're so close to ocean and that natural habitat around them?
That's very, very good observation, because simple observation. Okay, when colonizers first came to Native America, and they met the indigenous people there, they took a line and they drew it in the soil, and they said, now this land, this side of the land belongs to you, and this side of the land belongs to me. And the fact that nature could be divided like this was an absolute surprise for people. They're like, what the hell is going on over here? This belongs to all of us, and we're here to absorb from it and learn from it. And how can we do this? So people who are close to nature, uh, people who are living in environments that are, less of, I mean, think about it. Why do you go away? Why do we have to go away on vacation? Why do we say, let's take a break and, go to the seaside or the beachfront? Why are beachfront hotels so possible, so, what you call popular? Or, you go into a nature reserve, because of the fact that nature plays such a big part. And again, like I said, Dr. Meenu, if we were supposed to, if vacation means for many people going back into nature or going to a beachfront hotel, imagine this earth one day at some point in time was exactly beachfront and forests and completely full of nature. So we really came here on vacation. And so now we have to find that space that we came here for. And yes, to answer to your question, I mean, you go to the indigenous tribes and native tribes, and you go to people who live nearby nature, and they're more calmer, more collected. It is a very good observation that you make.
Yeah, I mean, as you always said that they are all there, and we have come here with the installed guidance. We do have that GPS inside when we can,
Yes.
if we be in silence and go within and try to find out. It's like you have your GPS on, but you are in a discotheque and you try to hear which direction, what, and then there are 10 other
Yes.
people around you. Obviously, you will not get to know. In order to hear that, you have to go somewhere which is isolated so that you can hear it out, right?
Yes, you give a very nice modern day example.
Yeah.
I give a more 1,000, 2,000 euro example. You're like more present modern day.
See, that's what our job is being a coach, right? We have to talk our clients' language so that they will understand, and finally they would get the message what we are actually trying to convey, right?
Very true. Very true.
That's what all coaches do. Okay, so Dexter, I would love to continue our talk, but I am aware of time as well. So
Yes.
it was really intriguing and very insightful to know a lot of things. I'm sure my audience would be more intrigued to maybe connecting with you or finding out more. So I would be giving details of your website or your details in the description box so that
Sure.
people can connect with you, and if in case they can get some guidance from you. Would that be okay with you?
That would not be okay, but for you, Dr. Meenu, we'll do it.
How
No,
sweet, how sweet.
that's completely fine. And for the folks in the audience, I must tell you also that Dr. Meenu and I have known each other for a little while now, and she's a fantastic coach. And she, has been a doctor for what I think for good many. You've been in pharma for a good many years now, like 7 to 8 odd years. Yeah, so she's got that consulting streak in her. She's got that questioning streak in her. So I think it would serve you really well to, take up her coaching. And she's doing a fantastic job with inviting people of such varied interest onto her show. So I wish you all the best, Dr. Meenu.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So before we go off the air, I would just like to ask you one question. How was your experience from our today's conversation?
I think, like we've spoken earlier, Dr. Meenu, you and I have a very free-flowing conversation. We're very uninhibited in our discussion, and we can really say what's on our mind. And I think the best part about our discussion, and especially you as a host, is that you're willing to listen. You've got a curious mindset, and you are able to give the guest enough and more time to be able to express themselves. And the good part is you're also able to transition that into uh, what the guest is wanting to say next, or maybe what's on your mind as well next. And that's the hallmark of a good host, to be able to transition from one thought piece to another. And I do a lot of professional hosting, and so I can see those traits already in you. So I think you're doing an absolutely fab job there.
Thank you so much. We were very happy. In fact, I'm sure my audience would have loved the conversation. Very happy to have you on the show, and thank you so much for your time. And looking forward for maybe part two of this in future.
Yes, yes. Let me know if you want to do a part two. I mean, the spiritual thing, we can go on talking about it, and we can have a more structured discussion around the facets of it. And if you have a bunch of questions, again, I'm just the messenger. I'm not the message. In fact, I'm not even the messenger. In fact, your soul is the messenger. I'm the guy at the post office who says, the stamp, yes, let's put a stamp on this. And so I'm just a very, very small part of this entire team. The messenger is within you, the message also is within you, and you're carrying it. And all I can do for you is I can help you discover that messenger. And then through the process of coaching, I can help you work through that message. So that's my I'd like to sign off with that today for myself.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the audience who have stayed until now. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments so that we can read it through and try to answer your question. Thank you so much for staying.